Buongiorno studenti! Today we're going to talk about quale in Italian and how to use it correctly. In a previous video I talked about the difference between che, cosa and che cosa. And in the comments to that video, some people requested a clarification on a word that seems similar but not quite. And that word is quale. So today I'm going to explain the difference between che and quale, and as always I'm going to share my personal tricks on how to use each one of them correctly and with confidence. Plus, of course, I'm going to share with you a lot of examples. Also, please notice that even for this lesson, I prepared a PDF version that you can download for free. Just click on the link that you will find in the description. Ok, iniziamo. Let's begin. So, here's your general explanation. In Italian, che and quale have two very distinct and different meanings. Che means what, and quale means which. Now, sometimes they can be used interchangeably, and I've noticed that what and which are used interchangeably quite a lot in English, but in Italian that can only be done to a certain degree, so we need to know when we can use them interchangeably and when we cannot. Okay, so let's suppose we want to say, what food do you like? That in Italian would be che cibo ti piace? Che cibo ti piace? What food do you like? If we want to ask which food would you like, that phrase would use quale. So, quale cibo ti piace? Which food do you like? Now, as you can see with these two sentences, the substance of the meaning is essentially the same. You're asking the preference regarding food to someone. But if we want to be more precise, then there is a subtle difference in meaning, which is this. Quale usually means among a more restricted selection. So, which do you prefer among a limited selection, among limited options? And che means instead that you're asking among a broader selection, more than broader, I would say among an undefined selection, like among undefined options. So that's the difference. Quale usually has a restrictive meaning that che does not have. Let me show you some example sentences. Okay, let's suppose we want to ask someone, in English for example, what books do you prefer? Now, how we're going to phrase this question depends on what you actually want to say. If you're asking what books do you prefer in general, like in the whole universe of books, what books do you prefer? Then we would use che. Che libri preferisci? For example, che libri preferisci leggere? What books do you prefer reading? So you're asking about all the infinity options of books available nowadays. This is a question that refers to the general possibilities, all the possibilities. But what if you want to ask someone, what book do you prefer reading among a more restricted selection? Then it would be more correct to use quale. Or actually, since we're using the noun libri, we need to use quali, plural. So remember that quale needs to match the noun. So libri, books, is plural. So quali also needs to change to match libri, so to plural. Quali libri preferisci leggere? This question has a subtle difference in meaning, which means which books do you prefer reading among a more limited selection? Okay? Let's keep practicing this with a few more examples. Like, for example, let's suppose I'm going to tell you the situation and you are going to pick between che and quale. So let's do this quick quiz. Let's suppose we want to ask, what book do you want? And so you want to ask someone, what book do you want? And you have no clue about what the other person is going to say. What would you use? Che or quale? Che libro vuoi? What book do you want? You're going to buy a book for someone at the bookstore and you're asking them, che libro vuoi? You have no idea among all the options. But now, let's suppose you're asking that person, what book do you want? But you're actually showing them two options. What book do you want? This or that? What would you use for this question? Esatto, we need quale because we are giving them two limited options. Questo o questo? Quale libro vuoi? Questo o questo? I'm giving you an option. I'm giving you a choice among limited options. So, quale is the most correct. So remember my quick trick. If you are showing or talking about a limited selection of options, use quale. If you have illimited options, so you're talking in general, then use che. Okay, now there's something I want to highlight. In all the previous examples, in these two examples and the previous ones, when we use what or which, we're always using them, so que, che, or quale, we're always using them followed by a noun. What do I mean with that? Quale libro? Libro is a noun. Che libro? Libro is a noun. Quali libri? Che libri? Quale cibo? Che cibo? So in all these examples, che or quale is followed by a noun. In this case, when che or quale is followed by a noun, so what food, what book, which book, etc. In these cases, you can mostly exchange che and quale. If you use che instead of quale or quale instead of che in this specific case when they are followed by a noun, the meaning is essentially going to be the same and nothing bad will happen. So there will be no Italian grammar police showing up at your door because you used quale instead of che or vice versa. But there is one specific case where this rule that I explained to you, this trick I explained to you, is even more true and even more strict. And this is when what or which is followed by a verb. When which or what are followed by a verb, they are definitely not interchangeable in Italian. You must pick the right one using the trick I showed you. And this is because quale has a selecting quality that che does not have. So I'm going to show you one example where Italian and English are pretty different in this regard, at least for what I've seen so far. So let's suppose we want to ask, in English, when you can ask, what is the difference? What is the difference? And usually you're asking what is the difference regarding two or a few more options. Well, how would you ask that in Italian, accordingly to what I've explained to you so far? You must use quale for this example, because that quale shows this restricting quality, this selecting quality among limited options. So if you're asking what is the difference, of course that implies among a few options. So we must use quale. So if you want to ask what is the difference, you need to say that, you need to phrase that as in qual è la differenza? Qual è la differenza? So this is the correct way to ask what is the difference in Italian. You cannot say che è la differenza. That would be incorrect. And we must do this because what in English is followed by a verb. What is? Qual è la differenza? So remember, when you're using what and a verb, you must be more mindful and asking yourself, I'm asking what is among limited options. In this case, I need to pick quale. I'm asking these in general, then I can use che. So this is important to remember. Now, let me show you an example where we use this phrase. Let's suppose you want to ask the difference between two words in Italian. For example, what is the difference between giorno and giornata in Italian? How would we ask that sentence, that question? Oops. Qual è la differenza tra giorno e giornata? That's the proper way to ask what's the difference in Italian. Never use che è la differenza, but remember to use qual è la differenza. Va bene? Oh, by the way, if you want to know what is the difference between giorno and giornata, I have a dedicated video. I'm going to leave the link in the description below. Okay, so let's recap. Remember my trick. When you have a limited selection of options, you use quale. When you have illimited options, it's in general, you use che. Okay, let's see a few more examples because I want to make super sure that this is clear and immediately useful to you. So, but this time I'm going to do this in quiz form. So I'm going to quiz you. Okay, let's suppose you want to ask someone, what dish do you prefer for dinner? Now, I'm going to give you more context because that's the key to pick correctly. In real life, usually questions have more context than in Italian grammar classes. In Italian grammar classes, usually we have like, oh, how do you say this? How do you say that? And you are very limited to a specific sentence. But in real life, usually you have more context, and that context is going to give you a hint regarding which one you need to pick. So I'm going to do, like in real life, I'm going to give you more context for this quiz. So let's suppose you want to ask someone, what dish do you prefer for dinner? But you are in a general conversation. So you're talking about general preferences, things that you like, things that you don't like, and you ask, oh, what dish do you prefer for dinner? How would you ask that? Would you use che or would you use quale? Okay, the correct answer is che. Che piatto preferisci per cena? That means in general, what do you like to have for dinner? In general, among all the options available. Okay, now what if you want to ask someone, what dish do you prefer for dinner? Pizza or spaghetti? I know it's a tough choice. What would you use? Che or quale? Perfetto. That would call for quale because we're giving them limited options, pizza o spaghetti. Quindi quale piatto preferisci per cena? Pizza o spaghetti? Perfetto. Ok, ancora a few more examples in quiz form. How would you ask someone, what dress will you wear tonight? The red one or the black one? Perfetto. Quale vestito indosserai questa sera? Quale vestito indosserai questa sera? Quello rosso o quello nero? See, you're giving them options. You're asking which one are you going to wear? Quello rosso, the red one, or quello nero, the black one? What if you want to ask someone, what dress are you going to wear tonight? Maybe it's an important night, an important event, and you're curious, oh, what dress are you going to wear tonight? What would you use? Che or quale for this question? Esatto. Che vestito indosserai questa sera? Che vestito indosserai questa sera? You have no clue of what they're going to pick. You're just asking in general, what dress are you going to wear tonight? So we need to pick che. Va bene? Ok, there you have it. Che versus quale. Now you know what is the difference, qual è la differenza, and how to pick one or the other correctly in Italian. And you are also probably more aware of the difference in usage between Italian and English regarding these two words. If you like this video, as always, don't forget to let me know in a comment below. And also make sure to download your free PDF for this lesson that contains all the examples and the explanations we went over today. Just click on the link in the description. È tutto per oggi, it's all for today. Buona giornata, have a great day e ci vediamo presto. See you soon. Ciao da Valentina.